Hello everyone, good morning. Welcome back to this session. So what we have done yesterday, we have seen some types of networks, I guess, yeah. Physical network and logical network. We have not discussed anything about logical network because like I said, your logical network is your IP addressing and it will take 1 week, 5 to 6 classes actually for this IP addressing. So that is part of your CCNA syllabus. Okay. Now, in physical network, we have seen three types of physical networks: local area network, metropolitan area network, and wide area network. So what is the major difference between these three networks? Local area network is spread within a room or a building. Metropolitan area network is within city, and wide area network is spread across cities, countries, and continents. Okay, devices will be same between all these networks. The purpose majorly is same, like sharing your information or accessing remote devices and so. And connection wise, majority of cases, or I can say 95 to 97% cases, local area networks are connected by using cables. And coming to metropolitan and wide area networks, all these are connected by using cables. Like we said yesterday, if there is a branch in South Mumbai and North Mumbai, they are connected by using a cable. And if there is a branch somewhere in India and somewhere in Australia or Russia or somewhere in Brazil, then they are also connected by using a cable. So cable is the most trusted network, more secure network. It has more speed. Okay, so all the branches are connected by using cable. And in between, we know we have this ISP providers, internet service providers. So they will take these cables and they will make connections for us. So our company will pay money, whatever the deal, whatever the requirement, according to requirement, they will pay money and they will make communication between India and Australia. Okay, so this was the diagram we have seen yesterday. This is the topology we have made yesterday. Okay, so these are the three major types of networks. Now, beside these three networks, we have some more networks actually. One is called campus area network. So we know the meaning of campus very well. Campus area network means, for example, imagine there is a company which has like many blocks, many buildings. Like if you go to any university, if you go to some big hospitals, or if you go to a big MNC, they have a big company, and that company has many blocks, many buildings within one boundary. So that network is called campus area network. Okay, this is an easy diagram here. See, there is some library here, there is some hostel, there is some admission section, examination. This is some college example here we can see. So all these five buildings actually, all these five blocks, they are under one boundary, they are under one campus. So this type of network is called campus area network. Library has their own network, hostel, there is a network, examination center, there is a network, academic building, there is a network, admission section, there is a network. Imagine there are like 50, 100, 200 computers in every building, every block. So all these blocks will be connected with each other. Now, to make connection between like admission block and library, or to make connection between like examination section and hostel. Now, these are like maybe like 300 meters apart, 500 meters apart, maybe like 1 kilometer apart within the boundary. If you go to big universities, the size of the university is very large. So in this scenario, if you want to make connection between library and admission section, there is no need to use ISP providers here. These connections we have to make. We have to connect our admission section with hostel or admission section with library. The cable connections and the communication, everything we have to do. Because this is a campus, whatever is it under campus, it is under our control. So no need to call ISP here. Just use a router in admission section and a router in hostel section, or maybe like switches also possible here. So just make the connection by using these devices, and then that's it. All these 4-5 blocks, whatever we have, they will communicate with each other. But suppose there is a library here, and suppose once you cross this campus, there is some public road, and once you cross your public road, like maybe like 300 meters or 500 meters, there is some other block, there is some other section there. So if you have to make communication from this library with that section, which is like 500 meters up away from your library, but in between we have this public property, we have some roads and lanes and whatever. So now if you want to make connection between library and that block, then we have to again go with ISP. We don't have permission to take a connection in public place. Within our local area network or within our campus, we can take cables and we can make connections and all those things. But once we cross the boundary, we don't have any permissions to take cables from one building to another building. Then we have to again take the help of ISPs, and those ISP people will make connection for us. Okay, so this network is called campus area network. The campus area network is spread within a campus. Okay, so again devices will be same. Sharing is the main issue, main advantage. Minimum there should be like 2 local area networks and no limit. Connections will be, again, it can be wire connections and wireless connections. The remaining things will remain same, but the only thing we need to see here is what is the geographical location, how far they are spread. So this is called campus area network. Okay, and there is one more small network here, that is called SOHO, means small office home office. Small office home office network means, we can take example of like internet cafes. If you go to internet cafe, like we have 5 computers, 10 computers or 20 computers, or if you go to some DTP center or Xerox center, we have like 5-10 computers there. So all the 5-10 computers are connected with each other. They share only one internet connection. They have only one printer to take the printouts and all those things. Or you can take example of your home. There is a Wi-Fi router, and like there are like 5 to 10 devices connected to that Wi-Fi router, 2-3 mobile phones, couple of laptops and whatever. So this sort of network is called SOHO, small office home office network. Okay, so these are some of the types of networks. We have like local area network. We know what is a local area network now. Then we have metropolitan area network, and we have wide area network. So whatever the networks may be, whether it is local area network, metropolitan area network, or wide area network, our responsibility as administrator in any of this network is to manage, configure, and do administration on routers, switches, servers, and computers. That is what we do there. So if it is local area network, your responsibility will be there. If it is wide area network, your responsibility will be the same. One more thing. There is a router, there is a switch, there is a server, and there are many computers. You should know how to configure all this. So once you finish your MCAC and CCNA, you will be in a position to make communication between India and Australia, and South Mumbai and North Mumbai. You will be in a position to make communication between these two switches, between server and computer, between server and router. All these things you are learning. Okay, but once you join a company, your responsibility will be on one particular role. Your responsibility will be on one particular service. Now, for example, there are many types of servers in a company. Let me show you one diagram here. See, you can see there are many servers here. Okay, so we have like PDC, DNS, web, ADC. There are some servers that we will see in MCAC in more details, but there are many servers available here. So you're learning some servers in MCAC, like you're learning ADDS server, secondary DNS server, DNS server, ADDS. So you're learning some servers. So there are many servers in a company. You're learning many servers in this course, but once you go to job, once you work in a company, your work will be there on any one of these server. For example, imagine your work is there on this ADC machine, or maybe your work is there on this PDC machine, or maybe there is an email server in a company. So you're learning many things in MCAC and CCNA, but once you go to the work, your work will be there on a specific server. Now, in some cases, like this is your PDC, it is called primary domain controller. It is a very, very, very important server. So primary domain controller. Now, on this single primary domain controller, maybe there are like 10 people who are working on it, or maybe there are 20 people who are working on a single server. So what company will do? They will divide the role. Okay, in primary domain controller, we can do many configurations. There are many concepts here. So a single person cannot manage everything. I'm saying a single person cannot manage everything in primary domain controller only. Forget about whole network. A single person cannot manage everything in primary domain controller. So there will be like 5, 10, 20 administrators who are managing this primary domain controller. So your responsibility will be something, my responsibility will be something, and some other person responsibility will be something. So the company will divide the work. And some other people are there who are working on web server. Some other people are there who are working on like file server or DNS server or email server or whatever servers we have. So learning wise, we are learning many servers, we are learning many services, we are learning many things in router and switch, but working wise, our work will be very limited. Okay, so these are the networks we need to manage, and we have like a team. Network administration, server administration is a teamwork. Okay, so you should know how to manage this primary domain controller, then you should know how to manage this primary DNS server. So maybe, for example, suppose one day the DNS administrator is not available, and if you want to make some changes, you should be in a position to make some changes. But overall, the thing is, your responsibility will be something in a company, and some other person responsibility will be something. So you're working on the same physical machine, same server, but roles will be different. This is one simple thing you need to understand. Okay, so these are the types of networks we have, and we should make connections locally. But coming to the connections between two routers, that is wide area network and metropolitan area network, that is not our responsibility. That is a responsibility of ISP. Okay, so I'll just wait here for 30 seconds. If you have any questions or doubts, hopefully we can see, then or else we can move into the next topic. And remember, the wide area networks, Hyderabad, Delhi, Mumbai, are between London, Dubai, Sydney, Moscow. All these cities, all these countries, they are connected by using cables. There are some undersea cables, there are some underground cables. So we have many types of cables here. Okay. And the cable that we use in undersea and underground is your fiber optic cable. If you remember our first session, we have discussed about cables here, and we said there are two cables here. One is called UTP cable and another one is fiber optic cable. Within our company, within the local area network, we will use this UTP cable. Normally it is also known as CAT cable, CAT 5 or CAT 6. But if you make connection between two different cities and countries, then we have to go with this fiber optic cables. So these ISP people, they will make these connections. Already some lakhs and lakhs of miles of cables are already laid down, and some more cables are coming. Many more cables will come in future also. One of the reason why the internet connection is in more speed nowadays, the infrastructure has developed. The infrastructure, the cables are more now. The devices are like upgraded to much faster speed. This is one of the reason why internet connection is like this. I remember 10 years before in Hyderabad, a city like Hyderabad, the internet connection was like around 1 MB or 2 MB. It was like huge. 10 years before, if you have like 1 Mbps internet speed, it was like you're having a good speed. But now, we are easily getting 60 Mbps, 80 Mbps, and up to 100 Mbps. Easily, people are getting that much speed because infrastructure has developed. The cables are more now. The devices have increased. The devices speed has increased. The devices capacity has increased. So now, if you take like anything less than like 40 MB, that means you're using a slow internet connection nowadays. So you should use like 40 MB or 60 MB or up to like 100 MB. You can easily get 100 Mbps of speed in like 1300-1400 rupees per month. Okay, so 300 Mbps speed, internet speed is huge actually. In companies, if there are, suppose imagine there are totally maybe like suppose like 1200 computers here. So if there are 1200 computers, so normally for our personal use in our home, how much internet, what is the speed we are using normally? It will be like, 40 MB, 60 MB, 80 MB. I hope you're using the same speed there also in your home. So it will be that much speed. But once you go to a company, if there are like 1200 computers, for these 1200 computers, 40 MB or 60 MB is more than enough. For our personal use in our home, we are using 50 MB and 60 MB easily. But I'm saying the same 50 MB, 60 MB is more than enough for this network, a network with 1200 people. The difference here is in our home, we are connected to YouTube, Facebook, and we are like watching videos and all those things. So when you watch a video, the bandwidth will be utilized more. When you download a game or a movie or something, the bandwidth is more utilized there. But in a company, you cannot watch a YouTube video, you cannot go to Facebook, you cannot download any game or a movie. Okay, so it will be only used for like email purpose, majorly for email purpose, or sharing information with your branch office. So if there is 50 Mbps speed in a company that has 1200 computers, 50 Mbps speed is more than sufficient for them. The reason what I said you is we are not watching any videos or games there. Nowadays, we watch everything on internet, whether it is Netflix or Hotstar or whatever. We watch cricket matches there, we watch like some movies there. So 50 Mbps also in some case, it is not sufficient for us. But in a company, that's more than sufficient. Okay. So these are the types of computer networks we have. Now, let us see some brief introduction of devices, because normally these are the devices we have: server, computer, router, switch, printer, and firewall. So the most common devices we have in companies are server, computer, routers, and switches. So let us have some basic idea of these devices. Now, what is a server and what is a computer? What is the difference here? Okay. Any idea about server, guys? Any basic idea? Like, have you read anywhere what is a server and what we do by using server and so and so? We know computer very well because we are using computers for many years now. But coming to server. Okay. One simple question, some other question. When you take a computer, actually, when you take a computer for your personal use, can you tell me any three things that you will see in a computer to decide like which computer is better? Like if you go to market, there are many laptops available. There are many configurations in a laptop, or there are many configurations in a computer. So how you decide which computer is better for us? Can you say any three things, if you can, please?
Processor,
Okay, fine. Processor,
RAM,
RAM.
OS,
Okay, great. OS. Good. Now we will see processor, RAM, and OS. But now we are learning networking, right? We are not normal computer users. We are not programmers, or we are not multimedia people. So we are into the networking now. We are into the computer networks. So now we should know a bit more deep. Now, when you say processor here, now this question to you is, what will you see in a processor now?
number of ports,
Number of cores, exactly. Then,
then frequency,
sorry, cores and
gigahertz, how much frequency,
frequency, exactly, gigahertz is speed. Great, yeah. There is something called cache memory. So yeah. So when you take a processor, we need to see like how many cores are there. The cores are like, it can be dual core, quad core, octa core, or hexa core. When you take a processor like dual core, there is one processor, but it is working as two processors. When you take a processor as, I'll just write here, it will be better. So when I say CPU or processor, now we get i3 processor or i5 processor or i7 processor. Now we have i9 processor also. So the one thing we need to see in a processor is how many cores are there. It can be dual core. Dual core means it has like two cores. It can be like quad core. Quad core means it has totally four cores. It can be like octa core. Octa core will be like 8 cores, or it can be hexa core. Hexa core will be like we have totally 16 cores. So when you say dual core, one physical processor is working as two in a way. Quad core means one physical processor is working as four. This is your processor. We can see here it is written as i5 here. So this is your processor. Normally it is also known as the brain of the computer. This is the most important part of your computer. Normally people go with higher hard disk because they say like, okay, they can save more data there. Of course, they can save more data in hard disk if the capacity is more. But if the speed of your computer is slow, what is the use of saving more data there? So the first thing we need to see in a computer is the processor. And in processor, we need to see like how many cores are there in that processor. Okay, so here it is i5. Now, for example, imagine I'm using an i5 processor and you're using an i5 processor. We both are using i5 here. But you know, your i5 processor can be better than my i5 processor. The reason is my i5 processor is dual core and your i5 processor is quad core. So I'm having only two cores and you're having totally four cores. Okay, now, for example, the speed here is, okay, one more question. Can you tell me how to check the configuration in a computer, like where exactly it will be written, like the processor and the speed of the processor? Because these are very simple interview questions they may ask you if you're a fresher.
My
My
computer properties.
Exactly, simple, right? My computer properties. We can go to properties of, and see here it is written as Intel Core i5. This is my computer and the speed is 3.20 gigahertz. And my processor is quad core processor. Quad core processor means if the speed is 3.2 gigahertz, 3.2 multiplied by 4. So my actual speed is approximately 12,800 megahertz. This is the speed I'm getting here, 12,800 megahertz. It's here. It is your quad core. Okay. Now suppose imagine my processor is quad core and your processor is octa core. Octa core means here is in totally 8 cores. So first we need to see the cores, and with this cores we need to see the frequency, the speed of your processor. So if you take any processor between like 2.0 and 3.2, that is considered as a good processor. Okay, normally the speeds will be like 2.0, 2.4, 2.6, 2.8, 3.0, 3.2. We have like 3.4 and 3.6 also. But you know, these processors are considered as a good processor. Now for general purpose, for your home purpose, only for browsing purpose, dual core is sufficient. Dual core is more than enough. But if you can spend a bit extra money, then you know, quad core will be like great for our use. Once you take a quad core processor, it will be like good for next 5-7 years. Okay, so because we have like 4 cores and we have like sufficient speed. Okay, fine. This is one thing we need to see. And the second thing is speed. And the third one we need to see is cache memory, the temporary memory. Okay, if the cache memory is 2 MB, it can be 4 MB, it can be 6 MB, it can be 8 MB, it can be 10 MB, or it can be more. So what is this cache memory? Cache memory is your temporary memory. So whatever we do on a computer or a server, or maybe in your mobile phone actually, in your mobile phone also there is a processor. It can be dual core, quad core, or octa core. Nowadays we are getting octa core processors in our mobile phone also. Yeah, so whatever speed we have in the mobile phone, if it is octa core, it will multiply by 8. And mobile phone also we have this cache memory. If it is like 4 MB or 2 MB, it can keep that much information. But if it is like 8 MB or 10 MB, it will keep more temporary information. So the performance of the machine will increase. But again, if you take a mobile phone or a laptop or a computer with 8 MB or 10 MB cache, or like quad core or octa core, obviously we need to spend more money there. Yeah, so we need to spend more money so we get better performance there. So these are certain things we need to see. Now, the second device we use in our machine is called RAM, random access memory. So whether it is computer, laptop, server, or maybe our mobile phone, again, there is a RAM there. Now again, the same question, please. What will you see in a RAM? Before you take a RAM, what will you see in it? How you decide like which RAM is better for your machine? Can you tell me any two features, two options that you see in your memory? Okay, the one thing we need to see in RAM is whether it is DDR3, DDR4. There are some categories there, DDR3 or DDR4. And the second thing we need to see in RAM is the speed. It can be like 1600 megahertz. It can be like 2000 megahertz. It can be like 2400 megahertz. And of course, we need to see the capacity also. Now, from today, if you're taking a laptop or a computer for yourself or for any of your friends or cousins or whoever, you should not take a machine with less than 8 GB RAM. From now, just make 8 GB RAM as mandatory. 4 GB is not at all sufficient. 4 GB is okay for like browsing purpose and that's it. Because if you go with like Windows 10 OS, once we switch on the Windows 10 OS, it will already use 2 GB RAM. So only 2 GB RAM will be available now. So once we start using more applications in our company, the consumption of RAM will increase. So minimum you should take 8 GB RAM for your use. If you can afford 16 GB RAM, that is great actually. But minimum it should be. So normally we are getting in our mobile phone, we are getting 6 GB and 8 GB RAM. So just imagine if your mobile phone is getting 6 GB and 8 GB RAM normally, how can we take a laptop or a computer with 4 GB RAM? So always take RAM with like minimum 8 GB or above. Okay. So when you see my computer, I have like 32 GB RAM here. Because this is like something like a server, not server exactly, but it is a good configuration because I have to take many courses, many classes on it like VMware. When I take VMware classes, actually it will consume nearly 24-25 GB RAM. So for this reason, I have taken 32 GB RAM, but for personal use, 32 GB RAM will be like too much. We can go with like 8 GB, 12 GB or up to like 16 GB. Okay. So you have seen RAM also, I guess. Random access memory. So this will be your RAM. Okay. So we know how to connect this RAM. You should know how to connect this RAM to the computer. And this is actually good RAM. When you see this red color RAM, it is a RAM with some heat sink. Heat sink means when the RAM is getting like, if you run your machine in like summer season, like now it is nearly 40 degrees, 38 degrees. So if you run your machine continuously for like 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, and if there is no AC, the components inside your CPU will be like more heated. So for that reason, there is something called heat sink that we need to use. A heat sink will like, consume, it will like absorb the heat actually. So you can take this RAM which has a heat sink on it. Okay. So RAM, of course, we should take 8 GB or above, and speed should be like 1600 megahertz or above. Take a memory like this. Okay. And one more thing regarding RAM, when you look at the motherboard actually, like if you're going with a desktop motherboard, you should take a RAM, you should take a motherboard with minimum 2 RAM slots. Can you see here blue one? There are 2 slots here. This is 1 slot and this is 1 slot. So we can put 4 GB and 4 GB here. So totally it will be 8 GB. Or in case if you want to upgrade, we can put 8 GB and 8 GB. So totally it will be like 16 GB. You know, normally we get laptops where there is only one RAM slot available. So if there is only one RAM slot available, you are stuck. Why you are stuck? Suppose if there is only 8 GB RAM available in your laptop, and if you want to upgrade to 16 GB, you should remove the older 8 GB, then put a new 16 GB. So you have limited your options actually. So if you take a laptop with like minimum 2 RAM slots, one is already used with 8 GB, so one is already, the other one is free. So you can put some other RAM there. So you have more options there. Normally on a desktop, you'll get minimum 2 RAM slots, but coming to laptop actually, there are many laptops where there is only one RAM slot available. So better not to take a laptop where there is only one RAM slot available. It should be minimum 2. Okay. And coming to server actually, there are many servers where there are like 30, 40 RAM slots. I'll show those things. I'll show in more details, but it will be like more. Okay. So there is something called task manager that will be there in every computer. So if you go to the CPU, in my computer, you can see there are 4 boxes here. That means there are 4 cores here. I have totally 4 cores. And coming to this memory, total memory is like 32,000, approximately 32,000. That means it is 32 GB. You can check your performance like this. And this performance you can check in any Windows machine, whether it is like Windows Server OS like 2016 or Windows Client OS like Windows 7 or Windows 10. In every machine, this option is available. It is called Task Manager. And how to access this Task Manager? Go to this taskbar, just right click here and just say Start Task Manager. So this will come up. So it will be used to monitor the resources, how much resources are used currently. Okay, if it is using more resources for some reason, then go to Task Manager again and then go to this application and select your application, any one of this application. Like suppose if I say CCNA 7 AM batch, I can select this application, then I can say end the task. So once I say end the task, that particular task will be closed. So it will free up some space. Or you can go to process also. Here also we can see many processes are running in our machine. So you can select any process and you can select end process. So if a computer or a server is using or consuming more memory, just go to Task Manager, go to Application and Process option, and we can simply close the applications that we are not using. Now, if you see carefully, this option is available in our mobile phone also, right? Normally, if you use many applications, if you open many apps there, the apps are running in the background. So there are some ways in our mobile phone using which we can shut down those apps, or we can make it down, or we can close it. So if many apps are running, it will use more resources. Okay, let us take one simple example here. Let us go to Task Manager, performance. How much it is using now? It is using 3.69 GB. It is using 3.69 GB of memory. So what I'll do here is, I'll go to YouTube. I'll just open YouTube here. Okay, these are my classes. Okay, I'll go to like Google and I'll say like Sachin Tendulkar. Best innings, something. I'll just open some videos here. Okay, so I can just open this. I'll open this. I'll open this. I'll open this. Okay, I'll open this. So I'm opening many things here. So when I open this, see how much memory it is consuming now? It is consuming 4.42. I just opened like 4 or 5 videos there. On YouTube, I just opened 4 or 5 websites. So now it is opening, now it is using 4.38 GB of RAM. You can see here clearly. But once I close this, like I'll close all these videos which I open here. And if you go and see how much it is using now, again, it is back to the 3.7, 3.8 GB. So what it means, when you start using more applications on your machine, the RAM and the processor consumption will increase. Okay, so always take a machine, whether it is mobile phone or a laptop, with minimum 8 GB RAM. Done. Now how much we need to take in a server, that we will see later. Okay, that we will see, but don't worry about that. But right now it is something like this. So the second device, as we discussed here, is random access memory. So it should be minimum 8 GB or 16 GB is better, and the speed we need to see. Okay. The third device that we need to see here is called hard disk. You know, without hard disk, we cannot take any computer or a laptop, because hard disk is a place where our operating system is loaded. What is the operating system? We have like two classes for operating system. We will see those things in more details. But hard disk is a place where the operating system is loaded, our data is loaded, the applications are there. Whatever we do in a computer, everything will be saved in hard disk. Applications or softwares or OS or anything. Now again, the same question, please. Can you tell me like what two things will you see in a hard disk before you purchase a hard disk? We are discussing this because, see, when you work in a company, you work as an administrator, so you're the person who decide in a company what computer should be taken. Okay, for example, there are accounts people. Obviously every company has accounts people. Okay, so for accounts people, what processor should be there, and how much memory should be there, and how much hard disk should be there. But suppose if there are multimedia people, for multimedia people, what processor should be there, for what memory should be there, and how much hard disk should be there. This you will decide actually, because you are the administrator. Management people are not aware of the computer hardware and computer network. So they will have a meeting with us, and they say, like, suppose there is a new department like multimedia, and there are 30 people working in multimedia, so we should bring 30 devices for them. So they will ask what configuration should be there for those 30 devices. So then we need to say, like, okay, this processor is better, this much memory should be there, and this much hard disk should be there. Okay, now again, in hard disk, what two things you will see before you buy a hard disk?
First one is capacity, size.
Okay, fine. First one is capacity. Second one,
That I don't know.
sorry.
No, sir, only that I don't know.
Okay, you know capacity, right? Okay,
Yes.
so capacity, like normally for personal use, like 500 GB or 1 TB, or we can go up to like 2 TB not easily in our computers, computers and laptops. See, 500 GB nowadays, people feel like it is a bit, less capacity, because normally people save a lot of games and movies and some other stuff, personal photos and videos. It's a personal computer, so they feel like 500 GB is less. But when you go to companies, if there are like some hundreds and thousands of computers, I'll just show you one network first. Okay, this is some company somewhere in India. We can see some people are working there, and every person is sitting on their own computer, actually, not on, they're sitting on their computer. So every computer has a processor, RAM, as well as a hard disk. But in these computers, if there is 80 GB hard disk available or 160 GB hard disk available, it is more than enough, because this is not their personal computer, this is a company's computer. So what is the setup in a company? A computer will be there, or some hundreds and thousands of computers will be there, but the data will not be saved in computers, the data will be saved in server. So when you see she is working here and she is working here and he is working, all these people are working here, when they save data, the data will go to server actually. Like in MCSE, we need to see there is one topic there, it is called network drive and disk quotas. It will take one class for us to see how to make this user data saved in server, how to configure this user data should be saved in server. So then we can see like how to do all those things. But the general concept is, in a company, if you take like 160 GB hard disk, it is more than enough. But for personal use, maybe like you should go with like 1 TB, because we can save huge data there. Okay, so yeah, one thing is we need to see the capacity. The second thing we need to see here is called RPM, rotate per minute. RPM. Let me show you the hard disk from inside first. So you have seen this hard disk before from outside, it will look like this. But once you open a hard disk from inside, it will be like this. What you see, this one is a disk, like CD is compact disk, DVD It is a disk. Okay, so these are the disks available inside our hard disk. And you can see there is something called, there is a pin here, it is called header. So once you switch on the hard disk, once you switch on the computer, actually the hard disk will start rotating. This disk will rotate here. And what is this header? What it will do? It will read your disk. When you access some data, it will read your disk. So this hard disk is keep on rotating like till the time the machine is working. And this header will keep on searching for your data. Whatever you are accessing, it will search. Here you can see here clearly. It is more technically present like platters and plates and all those things. No need to go that much, but I hope you understood. This is your hard disk, which has a disk inside, multiple disks inside, and there is a header. The header will read the data that is stored on this particular disk. So what is this RPM means? Rotate per minute means this particular disk is rotating for how many times per minute. Now there are two speeds here normally in a normal computer or laptop hard disk. One is 5400 RPM, another one is 7200 RPM. If you go with a server hard disk, it can be like 25,000 RPM also. It can be up to that size also. But normally it is like 5400 and 7200 RPM. Means suppose you have taken a hard disk with 1 TB capacity. This 1 TB capacity hard disk can have 5400 RPM speed, or this 1 TB hard disk can have 7200 RPM speed. Now you tell me which hard disk will you choose? Will you go with like 5400 or 7200?
7,200.
Of course 7200, because there is more speed. If it is rotating for 7200 RPM with 7200 RPM, searching of the data is more easier. It is more faster. Okay, so if you take a hard disk with 5400 RPM, suppose imagine the price of that hard disk is suppose around, I'm not saying the perfect price, I'm saying approximately like say 3200 rupees. But if you take a hard disk with 1 TB capacity and 7200 RPM, the price will be like somewhere like 3700. Capacity is same, but why there is a difference in price? The difference is because of this RPM. Okay, so normally people are happy, like we can see some people, they say like I have i5 laptop, but I purchased i5 laptop in like 40,000 because my i5 laptop is in 50,000, and that person is very happy because he got i5 laptop only in 40,000. 10,000 difference is there. But why this 10,000 difference is there? The reason is that person has a dual core processor and we have this quad core processor. Okay, that person has a hard disk with 5400 RPM and we have the hard disk with 7200 RPM. That person RAM speed is like 1200 megahertz and our RAM speed is like 2000 megahertz. So these are the differences we have to see. For your personal computer also, we have to see the three major components. We have to see the differences in these three major components. And in company, like I said in company, we are the people who decide like what devices, what configuration should be there in computers for each and every department. So then also we have to see these three things. Okay. Now some extra things here. Let us see, like coming to processor, we have two very famous companies. One is Intel and another one is, the other company, it is called AMD. These are the two very famous companies that manufacture your CPUs. These are the vendors. And coming to RAM, actually there is something called Hynix, Hyundai, and we get Samsung also actually here. So we have, these are the three famous companies. You can go with any one of this company. And coming to this hard disk, Samsung is a very famous company. There is something called Seagate hard disk. There is something called Western Digital. These are the three very, very famous companies that manufacture your hard disks. So these are certain things that we need to remember, because once you take a device, it will not be easy for us to like upgrade or make some changes. So before you take a device, this is what we should do. Normally people go to the showroom or the shop somewhere to purchase a device without any knowledge. And once they go there, the person who is selling the device, the person who is there in their job, he will ask them one question: what is your need? If they say like they are using this machine for general purpose, he will take a machine for general purpose. If they say like for multimedia, he will design a machine for. So according to the requirement of a person, the machine will be designed. Okay. And the last thing that we need to see before we purchase a laptop or a desktop or a computer, whatever it is, NIC card, network interface card. We know every computer has one network interface card for sure, minimum one interface card, because if there is no network interface card, we can use a computer, but we cannot connect a computer to the network. So network interface card is must on every device. If you're using your laptop right now for this class, you are connected to internet by using this network interface card. Network interface card can be a wireless adapter, it can be a wire adapter. Both the cards can be available. So on modern devices, especially on modern laptops, we are getting a NIC card that has capabilities of wire connection as well as wireless connection. Okay. So this is the network interface card we need to see. And this network interface card has actually two addresses. One is called IP address, and another one is called MAC address. What is IP? What is MAC? It's a huge thing. IP, like I said, it will take 5-6 classes. MAC address will take like many things. MAC address will come in many other topics in switching and routing and other things, as well as in servers. So we are not discussing about anything right now. So just remember, there is a network interface card. So what we need to see network interface card is again speed. The speed should be like 1 GB, or it can be like 10 GB. Normally on normal computers, we are getting 1 GB speed. But if you want to take a computer with like high configuration, then we can go with like 10 GB speed NIC card. This is also possible. So how this NIC card looks? This one. I hope you have seen this particular port on your computer. The other name here is called RJ45 port. So normally it is called as NIC card, NIC card, or it can be also known as LAN card, or it can be also known as like Ethernet card. It can be also known as adapter. So there are many names there. So the technical name, the registered name is NIC card, but we can call it by using any name. The only thing we need to see here is the speed, 1 Gbps or 10 Gbps. Normally, when you take a computer or a laptop, we will get only one NIC card, and one NIC card is more than enough for us on a computer, on a laptop. But there is something called a server. Right now, whatever we have discussed about computer actually, but we have one more device called server. So what is the difference between a computer and a server that we need to understand first? Okay, so we are preparing for server actually. So that's the reason we are discussing about computer. So I can say one thing today. I can say like computer and server, they both are similar devices. There is a motherboard in computer, there is a motherboard in server. There is a RAM in computer, there is a RAM in server. There is a hard disk in computer, there is a hard disk in server. There is a processor in computer, there is a processor in server. So both are same devices or similar devices. But what is the difference between computer and server physical wise? I will show one motherboard of a server. Then try to tell me what is the difference you see there. Come again. We know what is a computer. We have seen some photos. We have seen some motherboards and everything. I am saying computer and server, they both are similar devices. There is one major difference physically. So I'll just show you this photo. This is a motherboard of a server. I hope this is clearly visible. Can you see the difference? Can you tell me what is the difference between a server motherboard and a computer motherboard? The motherboard that you see on your screen is a server motherboard.
More CPUs, more RAM slots.
Exactly, there is a difference. It is clearly visible there. We have like 4 CPU slots here. Imagine i5, 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 i5. Now see how many RAM slots we have. All these are RAM slots. and say these are 3 NIC cards. If you can see here down right, there are 3 NIC cards here. Okay, but again, processor is a processor, RAM is a RAM, NIC is NIC. Whatever we have discussed about computer, about processor, RAM and hard disk, everything will be applied here again. Same thing. So when you take a CPU here, we need to see like how many cores are there, what is the speed. When you take a RAM here, like we need to see like how much is the speed and how much is the capacity. The same thing we have to see here. But I cannot take a computer processor, I cannot connect a computer processor here. I cannot take a computer RAM, I cannot connect a computer RAM here. There is a RAM in computer, there is a RAM in server, but both are designed for different purpose. The hardware, some differences will be there. So I cannot exchange the components from computer to server. Okay, so this is your server motherboard. There can be a server with like 10 processors. Okay, there can be a server like which is like huge in capacity. In a computer, normally we can connect 2 TB hard disk, but there are some servers where we can connect 20,000 TB hard disk also. There are some devices called storage and all those things. So whatever we have discussed today, we have simply seen the differences. These are some of the things that we need to remember, understand carefully. This is a huge part in our career actually. Because again, I'll repeat, companies will discuss with us, management will discuss with us what configuration should be there in a device. Because every department has their own requirement. Accounts people have their own applications, multimedia people have their own applications, programmers have their own applications. So every department has their own applications. So according to their application, according to their need, we need to take a device. If you want to take same device for everyone, it will be like too costly. Because you know, if there are 1,000 people working, out of 1,000 people, if 30 people are working as multimedia people, so for this 30 people, we can take 16 GB RAM. We have to take 16 GB RAM. But can we take 16 GB RAM in all 1,000 computers? Of course, no. It will cost you a lot. It will cost the company a lot. So for this 30 people, take 16 GB RAM. And for like accounts people, maybe like 4 GB, 6 GB is more than enough. For programmers, 8 GB is more than enough. So like this, we can divide now. Okay, so these are some of the things that we have to understand and we have to remember. So I'll just wait here for 30 seconds. If you have any questions or doubts, hopefully we will see. Take your time, please.
Sir, the difference between a cache and RAM, sir. Hello.
Sorry, my microphone was muted. Okay, you're asking like what is the difference between cache memory and RAM?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, RAM. Okay, RAM is actually a physical chip that we have seen before. It is a physical chip. Cache memory is a logical component in your device. Like in your processor, it is a logical component. So what RAM will do here is, like suppose you can see there is a Google page open here. So this Google page is located in RAM now. It is present in my RAM. If I open and if I say like suppose Virat Kohli, for example. So I can see Virat Kohli there. So where is this located now? It is located in RAM. Okay. Now once I close this, can I see Virat Kohli there? No, it is not available there, right? But that Virat Kohli information is available in my cache now. So it will keep that whatever I access in my computer, it will keep that information there. So next time when I again say Virat Kohli, like within 1 hour actually, when I say Virat Kohli, it will directly go to cache and it will bring it from cache because it will store that information temporarily. Okay, if I open, like suppose again google.com, this google.com is working in RAM now. It is working in RAM, but once I close this will go into cache. There it will be present. So both are temporary memories, but RAM is actually a physical chip. Okay, random access memory is a physical chip. It will look like this, and cache is just a logical part, just a logical portion. Okay,
Can we see the RAM size? Like how much, sorry, cache size? How much cache memory we have in our system?
Rahul, whenever you speak, can you just take your microphone close to your mouth?
Okay, sorry, sir.
Okay, okay, no.
Uh, yes, sir. Can we see the cache size in our system? Like how much cache we have?
Yeah, we can see the cache size in the system. You know, if you know your machine specification, if you know your machine model, like suppose if you go with Lenovo, HP, whatever, just go to the machine model and enter here in Google, like say this machine specification. So it will show all. Or there is something called BIOS. We will discuss BIOS in more details. We have some class there. So this is called BIOS, basic input output signal. Every computer, every motherboard has this BIOS option there. So once you go to this BIOS option, here we can see everything. Okay, can you see here? This is some BIOS setup, and can you see the clock speed is 133 megahertz, frequency is 293, and cache is like 256 KB. So
Yes,
once
sir.
you go to BIOS of any computer, every computer motherboard has a BIOS, and if you want to enter in BIOS, we can switch on the computer and we can enter. I'll show all those things later, but in BIOS everything will be written. If not, then we can go to the Google and we can search the specification. There also it will be written.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Dell laptop i5 10th generation. I'll just say like, okay, I'm just using a random machine here, Dell Inspiron. So if you go to the specification here, in specification it will be written clearly. See, it is saying 8 GB RAM and 1 into 8. That means it is only one RAM chip, DDR4, and what is the speed here? 3200 megahertz. That's fine. Okay, so here also if you go to specification, it will show in more details like how much RAM we have, how much hard disk we have, and what is the cache memory and all those things. So there are some ways of looking at it. Okay, so tomorrow when we come here, tomorrow we will see, we know what is a computer now. We have some good idea about computer hardware. So tomorrow we will see like what differences we can see between computer and server, and what companies are there that provide servers, physical servers, and what is a server and what is the operating system. Again, tomorrow class will be very, very important. So tomorrow hopefully we can start our OS, we can start the softwares, and then hopefully after tomorrow we can see the installation. Okay, so if there is no question, I'll just wait here again. The time is already up. So if there is any question, hopefully we can see, or else we can stop this session for today. It's up to you now. Take your time.
Sir, uh, hello?
Yeah, Rahul, go ahead.
Sir, in the desktop or in the computer, we have a screen, CPU, and all these things.
Yeah.
But sir, in the server, only CPU we have, or we have also have a screen, like monitor, something like that.
See, without monitor, we cannot see the display, right?
Yeah,
So
correct.
server is like a computer. It also has a display. I'll show the server here actually. Can you see this photo clearly there?
Yes, sir.
So can you see this monitor here? There is a monitor and keyboard and mouse here, right? And in the
Right.
back side, it is called rack. There are many servers here actually. there are many servers running there, maybe like 10-12 servers are there, I guess. So if you want to make some changes in server 1, for example, take the monitor cable, keyboard cable and mouse cable and connect those cables to server 1. So once you connect to server 1, the display will come here. Or if you want to make some changes in server 10, so take these 3 cables and connect to server 10 and the changes we can see. Server, every time monitor is not connected to server. When you do the installation and the basic configuration in a server, then only this monitor will be connected. So once you do the basic installation like server installation and IP addressing, you know what we do? We sit on our computer somewhere in remote location and we connect to the server remotely. There is a very, very famous software that is called PuTTY. The software is called PuTTY. You will see this PuTTY software in each and every administrator computer. So now what we have done in that server room, in this server room actually, we went inside this server room, we connected keyboard, mouse and monitor here and we did the installation of Windows Server 2016. Okay. Then we assign the IP address. So once we assign the IP address, our work is over. Then we will go out of this server room and then we will come to our computer, which is somewhere in like, suppose the server is in like 10th floor and we are in the first floor now. So we go to our computer. In our computer, we open the PuTTY software and whatever IP address we assign there, we enter the IP address. So once you say open here, from our computer now, we are connected to this server. So the screen of the server, the display of the server will be this PuTTY. That is from our computer. So like this, we will manage everything. So again, every time monitor is not connected to server, like it is connected to our desktop machine. Every time it is not connected. Initially for some configuration it is connected and after that it will be like remote access. You know, I know many people, you know, in India, if you get salary of like $500, $500 is how much? It is approximately like dollars is, I guess it is 74 now. So it is 37,000 rupees. So if a person with like couple of years of experience or 3 years of experience, if he is earning 37, 50,000, 40,000, 45,000 rupees, that is good salary, right? For a 2-3 years of experience person, that is considered as a good salary. You know, these people are working in India, they are getting $500 as salary, but these people are working for American companies. It is called outsourcing. All the jobs or most of the jobs that are there in America that are outsourced. Outsourced means the jobs are there in India. So Indian people sitting in India, they are working for those people. So the shift will be like in the night for sure, because if it is night here, then it will be day. Now the thing is, if you are connected to server physically, then can we access the server from India? Of course, no. So there will be only one administrator in that US branch and he will be connecting all the servers and all these things together. But there will be like 30, 40, 50 administrators who are sitting in different locations. Maybe most of the people will be in India, some may be in Sri Lanka, some may be somewhere in Bangladesh, some may be somewhere in China, some may be somewhere in UK. So these people are connected to those servers remotely and they access and they work. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, man. So this was the class today about the hardware and all those things. So hopefully we will see the hardware of server tomorrow. Some more things we will see, and then we will try to discuss the differences, different operating systems, softwares, and all those things we will see tomorrow. Okay, so if there is no other question, hopefully we can stop the class for today and hope to see you again tomorrow at same time.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, man. Thank you. Thank you. See you
Thank you,
tomorrow.
sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Bye.